My name's Daniel Carter. I'm 44 years old, and I've been working construction for the past 22 years. I never really questioned a credit card statement before until my wife, Rachel, started buying things in cities I'd never even heard. Her mention, the bank statement showed purchases in Orlando, Miami, Jacksonville. We lived in Tampa, and Rachel worked from home, handling bookkeeping for a few small businesses. Since when did her job involve so much travel? That morning in February, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at a list of charges that didn't add up. My coffee was getting cold, and the confusion was growing. A hotel in Clearwater for 2 nights. Rachel and I hadn't been to Clearwater together in years. A fancy dinner in Sarasota for over $200. Rachel didn't even like steak. Honey, what's this charge from the Ritz-Carlton? I asked. Rachel walked into the kitchen wearing her blue robe, hair still damp from the shower. Oh, that was for the Henderson account meeting. You know how demanding they are, she said. But the Hendersons were a small auto shop, not the kind of people who held meetings at luxury hotels. Rachel looked at me with that same expression she used when she was lying. It was a look that dared you to challenge her. A look I'd seen her give her ex-husband many times. I'd just never seen it directed at me. Right, I said, folding the statement. Makes sense. But a DIDN single quotes. 3 days later, I found a receipt in her purse while digging for aspirin. It was for dinner at a place called Antonio's Bistro in St. Petersburg, dated last Tuesday. I was home last Tuesday. We had eaten cold leftover pizza and watched the news together. I quietly returned the receipt to her purse without a word. That weekend, Rachel said she had to visit her cousin in Jacksonville. I reminded her that her cousin lived in Atlanta and had for 6 years. Rachel laughed it off and said she meant her other cousin, Jessica Sept. Jessica was her sister's name. I didn't push, not yet. Then my phone rang. It was my cousin Sophie, who worked in fraud prevention at Waverly Federal Credit Union. I'd asked her to keep an eye out for anything strange on our joint accounts, just in case. Daniel, she said, I'm seeing some patterns you might want to know about. Sophie wasn't one to exaggerate. When my dad got scammed out of $12,000 years ago, she was the one who helped set up our account alerts and security measures. Rachel had even signed off on all of it back then. What kind of patterns? I asked. Large cash withdrawals, transfers to unfamiliar accounts, and someone's been asking about changing account privileges. From the hallway, Rachel called down, Daniel, have you seen my jewelry box? On your dresser, I answered, then lowered my voice into the phone. How large? Sophie replied, $15,000 just in the last month. You want me to flag? Anything over $500. As Rachel passed the kitchen, carrying a suitcase I didn't recognize, I said quietly, no, flag anything over $50. Rachel and I had met 12 years earlier at a barbecue joint in Ybor City. She was coming out of a messy divorce from an insurance salesman with a gambling problem, and I was fresh off a luxury condo job with overtime pay to burn. I thought I could fix her pain. How wrong I was. She was smart, sharp with numbers, and had this laugh that made you forget all your problems. Within 6 months, she moved into my place. Within a year, we were married. From day one, Rachel handled our money. She turned my erratic contractor income into neatly arranged savings, IRAs, and investments. We bought a home in Hyde Park, took mountain vacations, and even talked about starting a family. But after 2 miscarriages, something changed. Rachel became distant, worked longer hours on fewer clients, and dodged any talk about counseling. That was 2 years ago. Last year, I took a high-paying contract with Kelmore Motors, building infrastructure overseas in the Middle East, Qatar. Rachel had actually encouraged it, saying the money could set us up for early retirement. Over the course of a year, I'd been gone a total of 4 months. During my second trip, her texts became less frequent, her voice less familiar. Every time I video called her, she was in a different part of the house, never the kitchen or living room where we used to talk for hours. Is everything okay? I'd ask. Just tired, she'd say. Work's been crazy. But the same 3 clients she'd always had: an auto repair shop, a boutique, and a small law firm. How crazy could it be? 2 weeks before I flew out to Doha again, Rachel dropped me at the airport. She kissed me like it was the last time. It felt like goodbye. On the flight, I messaged Sophie again. Keep a close eye on our accounts while I'm gone, just in case. 3 days after I landed in Qatar, the first alert came in. A cash withdrawal, $800 at 2 a.m. in downtown Tampa. Rachel hated going out at night, let alone wandering around downtown after midnight. A week later, a text message came through while I was on break at the construction site. I sat in the cooled trailer, sweating from the 115 heat outside, and read it twice. I found my soulmate and emptied our accounts. I'm moving to Florida with my new man. Don't call me. Don't try to find me. This is for the best. Good luck, Daniel. I stared at it for a while, then typed 3 words. Have fun. And you know what? I meant it. I sat inside that air trailer in Doha, staring at Rachel's message, and something strange happened. I didn't feel rage or heartbreak. I felt relieved, like a weight I didn't know I'd been carrying had suddenly disappeared. For months, I'd blamed myself for the growing distance between us, telling myself I worked too much, that maybe I wasn't present enough. Turns out, there was nothing left to save. She'd already made her decision. She'd moved on, and now I had to do the same. I called Sophie. Hey, Daniel, how's Qatar treating you? She asked. Rachel just sent a message. She says she emptied our accounts and ran off with someone else, I told her. Silence followed for a few seconds. Then Sophie replied, well, she's about to be very disappointed. Why's that? I asked. Because we locked down your accounts months ago. Any transaction over $500 needs dual authorization. Everything's been frozen since she started poking around. I let out a laugh, the first real one in a while. How much did she try to take? All of it, Sophie said. Every last cent. $143,000 your savings, checking, money market, and she even tried to liquidate your investments, but none of it went through. Outside the trailer window, I watched my crew pouring concrete in the desert heat. They were men from Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, guys who worked 12-hour shifts to send money back home. They understood sacrifice. They built things that lasted. Rachel, on the other hand, only knew how to take. She'll probably call you soon, Sophie said. When she realizes the money's locked, she'll get desperate. I nodded to myself. Keep the accounts frozen. I'll deal with this when I'm back. With 6 weeks left on my contract, I walked out of the trailer and back into the heat. For the first time in months, I felt like I knew exactly what I was doing. That night, at 3 a.m. Qatar time, my phone rang. Rachel's number. I let it ring. 5 minutes later, it rang again. Then a third time. On the 4th ring, I picked up. Daniel, she said, her voice shaking. There's been a mistake with the bank. I sat up in my bunk. Around me, 20 other workers were asleep under the low hum of the air conditioning. What kind of mistake? I asked. They froze everything. They're saying there's suspicious activity. But I'm your wife. I should have access. Where? Are you calling from Rachel? That doesn't matter. What matters is where. Pause. Then, a hotel in Fort Lauderdale. Kyle and I came down to look at apartments. We were going to make a deposit, but the money's not going through. Kyle. That was his name. How long have you been seeing him? A longer pause this time. 6 months, she whispered. Since before your first trip to Dubai. I did the math. She'd been cheating on me for half a year. While I was overseas in 115 heat, building our future, she was spending our money on dinners and hotel rooms with someone else. What does Kyle do for work? He's a life coach, she said. He helps people discover their authentic selves. A life coach, of course, and his authentic self wants to live off my construction income. It's not like that, Daniel. We're in love. What you and I had. It wasn't real. Not like this. Put Kyle on the phone. What? You heard me. Another pause. Then I heard a man's voice, smooth and confident. Daniel, this is Kyle. I know this is hard, man. But sometimes people just grow. Apart, Rachel and I, we have a spiritual bond. I'm sure you can understand that. How much money do you think Rachel and I have, Kyle? I don't really concern myself with money. Answer the question. Silence. Kyle, look, this is between you and Rachel. I'm just trying to support her through this transition. I didn't say another word. Rachel came back. On the line, crying now. Daniel, please. I know you're angry, but we can work this out. You can keep the house. I just need my half of the savings. Your half, I asked. You mean the money I earned while you were on vacation with a life coach? I managed our finances for 12 years. That money is mine too. And you spent $15,000 of it on Kyle in the last month. How do you know that? I've been tracking everything. Every lie, every withdrawal. Sophie's been monitoring our accounts since January. You've been spying on me. I've been protecting myself. She started crying harder now. I made a mistake. Kyle isn't who I thought he was. When the money didn't go through, he got mad and left. Where is he now? Gone. Almost felt sorry for her. Almost the accounts stay frozen. You want to come home and talk? Fine, but you're not taking our money to run off with someone else. You can't do this. I'm your wife, are you? I said. Then I hung up. The next morning, Sophie called during breakfast. Your wife's been busy, she said without preamble. I sat in the cafeteria at the job site, picking at scrambled eggs that tasted like drywall dust and sipping bitter coffee. How busy? I asked. She tried to access the accounts from 3 different banks. When that didn't work, she called Waverly Federal and claimed you were financially abusing her. She said what? She told them you were holding her hostage financially while she was stranded in Florida, wanted full access to the joint funds, asked to speak to the branch manager, then the regional director, and finally threatened to call the FTC. And what did the bank say? They told her the truth. No changes can be made unless both account holders are present. End of story. I looked out the window as a crew of Bangladeshi laborers loaded rebar onto a flatbed. These men worked brutal hours and sent most of their pay home to families they saw once a year. If that they knew sacrifice, they knew integrity. Kyle, the spiritual guru, didn't even know what a day's work felt like. "There's something else," Sophie said. "I did some digging on Kyle Rafferty. You're gonna love this. 2 ex-wives. Both claimed financial abuse. First one said he sweet-talked her into draining her retirement to fund his consulting business. Second one said he emptied their savings to buy a boat. Then he sold the boat and kept the money. A real soulmate, huh? Wait, it gets better. He's being sued for back rent 6 months and owes over $12,000 in child support to wife number 1. I pushed the eggs around my plate. They looked exactly like the concrete mix we'd been pouring yesterday. So Rachel found herself a predator. Question is, Sophie added, did she know? She's smart. She's done background checks on roofing companies before hiring them. I doubt she missed all that. Sometimes people don't want to know, Sophie said. Takes 20 minutes to find all that online. She either knew or chose not to look. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. "Kyle's gone. He took my jewelry and the cash I had. I'm stranded in Fort Lauderdale. Please help me." I showed the message to my site supervisor, a tall man from Serbia who'd been watching me push food around my tray. "Wife?" he asked in broken English. "Ex-wife probably," I replied. He nodded. "My first wife took my truck and my dog. Never got the dog back." "What about the truck?" "Found it in casino parking lot. Engine destroyed. Dog was better." I laughed for the first time in days. "Good advice." He patted my back. "Work is honest, women." "Not always," I texted. "Rachel back. Call your sister in Atlanta. Or cousin Jessica. Or whoever you've been pretending to visit. I'm not your emergency contact anymore." My phone rang instantly. I turned it off. That afternoon, I called my lawyer back in Tampa. "I'm ready," I told him. "Let's start the divorce process." He asked for documentation, any proof of infidelity or financial misconduct. "I've got more than enough," I told him. "How long left on your contract?" 5 weeks and 2 days. "Perfect. We'll have everything filed before you get home." After that, I started keeping a log. Not emotions, just facts. Dates, calls, messages. My father always said, truth is truth, but people believe it when it's organized. March 15th, Rachel called me 6 times. Left voicemails saying Kyle took her car and cash. Asked for money for a plane ticket home. March 16th, Sophie reported Rachel tried using our credit cards at 3 different car rental agencies. Declined. March 17. Rachel's sister Jennifer called. Said Rachel was frantic and asking for money. "Are you two having issues?" she asked. "No," I told her. "We're having honesty problems." She said you froze her out of your accounts during a business trip. Did she mention Kyle? Who's Kyle? I gave her the short version, no drama, just facts. Rachel had been cheating, tried to drain our accounts. Boyfriend bailed when the money didn't come through. "I can't believe it," Jennifer said. "Rachel always seemed so ... stable. Stable people don't destroy marriages for con. Artists with unpaid child support. What are you going to do? Finish my job, come home, file for divorce. Do you want me to help her? That's between you and your sister." 2 days later, Rachel was back in Tampa. Jennifer bought her a ticket and picked her up. Rachel moved into Jennifer's guest room and immediately started shopping for lawyers. Sophie kept me informed. Rachel had hired an attorney who specialized in complex asset division. He sent letters to Waverley Federal demanding access to our joint accounts. They're trying to intimidate us, Sophie said, hoping we'll unlock everything to avoid a legal mess. Are we unlocking anything? Not a chance. Your security protocols are airtight. She signed them too. No judge is going to be swayed. What's her next move? She'll claim financial abuse. Say you froze her out because you suspected the affair. She's right, I did suspect. But I froze the accounts to stop unauthorized transactions, not as punishment. Exactly, intent matters. Meanwhile, my lawyer filed motions to preserve marital assets and subpoenaed Rachel's financials. We'd prove infidelity and attempted fraud. Florida may be a no-fault state, but judges still care about misconduct when splitting property. How much is this going to cost me? I asked. Less than if she walked away with half of everything you built. Truth was, the money didn't matter to me anymore. What mattered was the principle. Rachel needed to learn that betrayal had consequences, that you don't get to cheat, lie, and rob, then play the victim. On April 1st, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Kyle. I want you to know I never meant for things to happen this way. Rachel told me you two were already separated. I deleted it without replying. The next day, she tried calling me from Jennifer's number. I picked up without looking at the screen. Jason, we need to talk, she said. We'll talk when? I get home, through lawyers, I replied. It doesn't have to be like this, she pleaded. Yeah, I said, it does. 3 weeks left in my contract. 3 weeks to decide how I wanted to rebuild. I flew back to Tampa on a Thursday morning in late April, the 18-hour flight from Doha, with a long layover in London. Gave me plenty of time to go over every legal document my lawyer had prepared. Petition, asset inventory, financial affidavits, and a well-organized folder of proof showing Rachel's affair and financial misconduct. By the time the wheels hit the tarmac at Tampa International, I was clear on my next move. My lawyer met me at baggage claim. Welcome home. You ready to end this thing? Ready to start over, I told him. We drove straight to the courthouse. By 2 p.m., the divorce papers were filed. Rachel would be served within 24 hours. But before that, I had one more stop. Jennifer's house in Westchase. That's where Rachel had been staying. Her car was parked in the driveway, the same car she claimed Kyle had stolen. Another lie exposed. I knocked. Jennifer answered, looking nervous. Jason, you're back. Is Rachel here? She is, but maybe this should go through the lawyers. It won't take long. Rachel appeared behind her sister, still in that faded blue robe. Her face was tired, drawn, her eyes puffy. That robe felt like a symbol now. The morning I started asking questions, she'd been wearing it too. Everything began unraveling with that blue robe. I'm glad you're home safe, she said softly. I handed her an envelope. Divorce. Papers. You've got 20 days to respond. She took it with shaking hands. Can we please talk? I made a mistake. Kyle, he wasn't who I thought. The accounts will be unfrozen tomorrow, I told her calmly. You'll have access to your half of our joint checking account. About $4,000. $4,000, she gasped. We had over $100,000 in savings. We did, past tense. Now, most of it's protected. You've got $4,000, and whatever jewelry Kyle didn't steal. Tears welled up in her eyes. Real ones, this time, but I'd seen enough. I'm sorry, I never meant for this to go so far. You did, I said. You meant to take everything and disappear. You just didn't think I'd be smarter than Kyle. 6 months later, the divorce was final. Rachel walked away with her car, her personal belongings, and the $4,000. I kept the house, the business accounts, and my retirement savings. The judge mentioned infidelity and attempted financial fraud in his final ruling on asset division. Her choices came with consequences. Rachel moved to Jacksonville. Really moved there this time. Found a job doing bookkeeping for a medical office. A few weeks later, she sent me a letter. She said she understood why I did what I did and hoped we could eventually be friends. I threw it away without reading. The rest, Kyle, according to Jennifer, had already found his next targeter, recently divorced real estate agent in Orlando. Same spiritual bond story. Some people never learn. I took a new contract with Gravora Group, building renewable energy sites in Nevada. The work was cleaner, safer, and closer to home than Qatar. I bought a smaller place in Seminole Heights. Got a dogged German Shepherd I named Sultan and started teaching myself how to cook. Real meals, not frozen pizza and takeout. Sophie and I had dinner once a month. She always asked if I was dating anyone. Not yet, I'd say, still. Learning to trust my own judgment again. You should, she told me. Your judgment was good. You saw the signs. You protected yourself. I saw the signs and ignored them for 6 months. But you didn't ignore them forever. That stuck with me. I had ignored the signs, but I didn't let them define me. I finally acted. I protected what mattered. My father always said that in construction, the foundation was everything. You could build a mansion or a shack, but if the foundation was solid, it would stand. Life worked the same way. Love built on lies would eventually collapse, but truth kept you upright. Sometimes the best revenge isn't taking back what was stolen, it's taking back control. It's learning to build again. Stronger, smarter, wiser, free.